football, and we have takes. Welcome to Football Takes. Football! Yeah! Football!
All right, everybody, it's time to sit under the football learning tree where our guy, noted NFL draft expert, enthusiast, NFL draft connoisseur, Thor Nystrom, sommelier?
Sure.
Are you an NFL draft som?
I'll take it.
You know how like the wine sommeliers, they did a documentary about this on Netflix like 10 years ago where you get to like a wine sommelier level and you're able to like huff the wine for 10 seconds and taste it and tell you like what are the 6 things in it. We should do that with Thor. We should like blindfold him and say, all right, it's his 3-cone was this. He went to this college and he graduated at age 22 from UCLA in 1999. Go.
That doesn't sound like nearly as much fun as huffing the wine.
Well, let's just say I have that spit bucket for thousands of prospects that get under the threshold for NFL participation every year.
Can I quickly say this, too? That the graphics department has done such a good job that I keep looking at the picture of Thor and waiting for it to start talking to me.
It is,
and then I have to be like, no, he's in the other box down there. Like he's below me. He's not that guy.
Would it blow your mind if pictured at the combine or was this combine or
Combine?
Senior Bowl?
Combine, yeah.
This version of Thor started speaking to you.
It would totally freak me out. But I've looked at it 3 times so far as Thor is talking, and it's like, why are his lips not moving? And I'm like, oh, that's right. He's right below me on the screen. I digress.
So actual Thor, not screenshot Thor, is going to guide us through his top 10 running backs from this year's NFL draft pool. And we're going to go through over the next like couple weeks. We're going to go through all of the different position groups so that so he can take us through 1 through 10 or 10 through 1, maybe with some honorable mentions sprinkled in. But before we get into your rankings here, Thor, just like broadly, generally, how good is this running back class? How deep is this running back class in your opinion?
It's way down from last year and not nearly as good as last year. And it falls off way quicker than last year. Last year, you could get interesting running backs in UDFA just because of how many were in that class. But the draft is cyclical. And with position groups, you find that when you have a good one year, typically that position is not going to be good the next year. And that's kind of what we have with running backs here. You're going to have to, if you want to shop for a running back, you're probably going to have to get that shopping done. Day 2, early day 3, I think there's a big drop off after that.
Okay. So we're gonna start at 10, work our way down to 1. By the way, if you are a football fan / nerd and you enjoy this new Football Takes podcast by us at Score North, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel and also find us on Apple and Spotify where you can find Thor's draft analysis and all of our general takes on our favorite sport, which is football. So if you're ready, Thor, we will fire this up.
Let's do it.
All right, graphics department. Let's see how we did here. There we go. Number 10, rock and roll. You go ahead.
Running back 10, Adam Randall from Clemson, 6'3" and 3/8, 232 pounds. This is a big boy, 9.44 RAS as well. Really good athlete and a converted wide receiver. Adam Randall is still looking for his position home. It obviously was not at wide receiver. Then they move him to running back. I don't know if it's at running back either. I ended up comping him to Antonio Gibson, another guy that I had a lot of trouble with when he was coming out of Memphis. He played that weird position in Norvell's offense where it's like part slot, big slot receiver, part running back kind of a thing. And Randall, very similar frame and kind of a similar game. But you love the size, you love the athleticism. He does have some skills. Obviously, he can catch the ball. But right now, he runs way too high, so it's an enormous strike zone for anyone that wants to hit him. And obviously, he's a big kid as well. He also lacks instincts right now. He doesn't really know what he's doing behind the line of scrimmage. Can you turn Adam Randall into a hybrid weapon? And this, you can tell I don't love Adam Randall as a prospect, but this running back class, this will speak to how quickly it drops off that Adam Randall somehow made my top 10 of the running back list, even though I don't exactly know what he's going to be in the NFL. But the physical ability there, I think, is what demands slipping him in there at the very end.
Is this kid drafted? Or is
he's going to get drafted? Yeah.
Okay. I was curious with that. I mean, let's just say we're not coming out of the gate exciting me about the prospect. of this young man.
232 with a 9.4 RAS is exciting, but
He's
when
a
you
good
talk
athlete.
about all the other stuff,
Yeah.
it's kind of sometimes there's amazing athletes that don't have a football home. You know, that's the weird thing about football.
Yeah. Yeah, the vision and feel is going to take time for him. And some runners run upright. I mean, we're 9 away from the top guy in this class. He runs upright, though. You know, the one that everyone talks about. We'll get to him a little bit later in the episode. But we have upright runners. But, like, can we get some better vision and feel? Can we get the ability to make your strike zone smaller with the oncoming defenders so it's not just easy to smack you between the tackles? That kind of stuff he needs to work on. But once the vision, feel, patience, those kind of things, if they ever do improve behind the line of scrimmage, that would obviously up his game. But right now you have a big guy who's a really, really good athlete who can catch the ball a little bit out of the backfield. You would sort of have to build a game around that.
Yeah. All right, RB9 on the clock.
RB9 is a guy that I like his game, Le'Veon Moss, and when we've seen him on the field, the issue is we don't see him on the field nearly enough. And this is the kind of guy in the NFL, if he keeps doing what he's been doing the last 3 years of on again, off again the field, coaches are going to rip their hair out with him. But I do like the talent, and if there wasn't the durability thing with Le'Veon Moss, he would be higher in my rankings, probably by 4 or 5 spots. He's a physical between the tackles runner. He has a prototypical build close to it. But the issue, of course, is the injuries and the way he likes to run with that physical sort of hard-nosed nature. It leaves him susceptible to even more hits, and we've seen the durability stuff. So you wonder if this is just going to accelerate going forward. But I'll just focus on his last 3 years at A&M. 2023 as a sophomore, he misses 4 games that season with a knee injury. 2024 as a junior, he tore both his ACL and MCL against South Carolina. He was having a great year up until that point. He already had double-digit touchdowns before he went down, but tore both those ligaments. And then last year, he does come back, but he suffers a significant ankle injury early on against Florida. He misses 6 regular season games this past season. He did, and you give him credit, he rushed back, or, you know, however you want to say that, for the CFP when, you know, A&M made the college football playoff, and Le'Veon Moss could have shut it down. But the whole time he was pushing to get back. Like the coaches talked about that. Elko, their head coach, was like, Le'Veon wants to play. And I think they had to hold him off for a game. But then he did come back for the CFP. But he only had 7 carries for 15 yards in that game before he left with another injury. That he aggravated the ankle injury. So again, off the field with this guy, will his body hold up in the NFL? If he does, he will outperform his draft slot. That is a huge if.
Also, if you ranked every prospect in this year's draft based on how much does their name sound like a creative player on Madden or college football, Le'Veon Moss would rank very high on that list.
Pretty good, right?
Hey, Thor, guess what sort of dot my draft board has for Moss?
You just get a red dot?
He just got a red dot.
Oh, baby.
I'm not touching anyone who's been hurt that much.
Okay.
I'm red dotting him.
We got another red dot.
How many colors of dots do you have? Is there a orange?
I just got red.
Okay. Green is must draft at all costs.
Well,
straight up.
It's 2 types of red, though. One is what we just talked about with Moss, injury concern. The second one is you're just a bad guy, which it doesn't sound like he's a bad guy, but he's been hurt. That's way too much. That's a resume of injuries before he's ever played a professional game.
I agree with that. Yeah, I would have a lot of. I would be very trepidatious. The only way I'm taking Moss if I need a running back, but then I miss out on one. But it's like I have to get one. If he falls down, I don't know, latter half of 4th round, early 5th round, I could see a team talking themselves into his skill set, but that means that you have missed on the quality surer thing running backs in this very thin running back class. So you've already sort of put yourself into a bad spot, but that's kind of how I see Le'Veon Moss.
All right, RB8.
RB8 is a guy that I know, locally we record out of the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and this is a guy that the Vikings have met with. They have flown out to his pro day and are interested in him. They're not the only team, but Wake Forest running back Claiborne is my RB8. You see there, I comp him to Kaytron Mitchell. Smaller running back here, 5'9" and 3/4, 195. 7.57 RAS on this kid, but it's the movement is better than that on the field. He gets dinged in the RAS as well because of the small stature, but he has real speed, 4.37 wheels on this guy, and the agility on the field is really good too. So once he gets then out into the open field, I consider him a high-speed car chase of a back. You're trying to sort of pen him in, and if you fail at that and he gets out in open field, wave him goodbye. He has electric agility. He's going to make the first man miss. And again, from there, you better box him in. Now, the thing going for defenses is even a glancing shot takes this guy down, right? He utterly lacks play strength. It's another thing he has in common with Kaytron Mitchell. But Claiborne, skilled receiver as well, good hands. Size hurts him, of course, in pass pro. He does give effort, but he's going to get run over there, especially in the NFL. I like how slippery he is. He does have good balance, but again, the direct shot, he is going down because of that lithe frame. And the last thing I'll say about Claiborne, this past season, he took a step back in a new offensive system, and so that could and maybe should end up hurting him on draft day. But I will say the NFL really, really likes Claiborne, and they have for a while. The two scouting services that the NFL has, NFS and Blasto, both gave him a day 2 grade over the summer. He was one of the you could count on one hand how many guys got a day 2 grade from both of them at the running back position. So the NFL likes Claiborne. And he might end up going above the RB8 that I have him ranked at. I have some of those minor concerns that I mentioned before, but he is electric and he's got the home run speed.
Yeah, I will say to run a sub 4.4 40 is going to catch a lot of eyes, and it doesn't shock me that the Vikings, who desperately lack a home run threat at that position, that they would be sniffing around if they had to get that far down the RB list. So okay, RB7, Thor.
RB7 is our first of 2 Penn State backs that we're going to talk about. I have Kaytron Allen here at RB7. I comp him to Ramondre Stevenson. Kaytron is just under 6 feet. He weighed in 218 pounds during the pre-draft process, but he plays 225 or so. He did not test during the pre-draft process, which was not a coincidence. But Kaytron Allen, the kind of back he is, he's a meat and potatoes efficiency back between the tackles. He was prolific at Penn State. He took records from there, as did the running back that he ran with that we're about to talk about here. But Kaytron, he lacks speed. He's not a good athlete. That's the reason he didn't test. He is a good pass blocker, but unfortunately he's not a good receiver. So what you have here, it's an early down, short yardage back that is going to guarantee you efficiency. You're not getting him in the backfield, so he will carve that out. But some of the running, it's going to remind you of the Leroy Horde. You need 1 yard, I'll get you 3. You need 5 yards, I'll get you 3, kind of a thing. And then he's also, you have to give it to him that he's a really good pass blocker. And in this class, there's not a lot of them. But again, you're not going to want to send him out on routes past the line of scrimmage. He'd be lost. You can do dump offs and screens, but you're going to have a better receiver than him on your roster at all times. But he is going to bring your offense efficiency between the tackles.
How bad of athlete do you have to be not to test?
You're telling the NFL, you're confirming that you're not a good athlete for sure by not participating in any of the tests.
So you're basically saying, let's let the 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns speak as loudly as possible and not go down the draft board any further, I guess.
If I was Kaytron Allen or his agent, I would have the exact same stance. Turn on the tape and show me someone better between the tackles than me. Show me someone better, their running profile over the last 3-4 years. Like that's where he obviously is going to shine in these conversations in war rooms here in a couple weeks at the end of April. But that is good. The other part of it, of course, is going to be brought up of like, this guy's not a good receiver. This is a passing league. And then you're not going to get any explosive plays out of him. Because if he would have run, probably mid 4.6s. Categorically lacks long speed. We've seen him get caught from behind in college, so that's going to happen a lot at the NFL as well, but the efficiency is going to be there.
Okay, RB6.
RB6 is his collegiate teammate. So we pair him up here as well in our rankings, and Nicholas Singleton, over 6 foot and a quarter, 219 pounds. He also will play over 220. He did not accumulate a RAS during the pre-draft process, but unlike Kaytron and some other guys, it wasn't Nicholas Singleton's decision, unfortunately. suffered an injury, which we'll talk about in a second. But Nicholas Singleton, former 5-star recruit, was ballyhooed going to Happy Valley. Huge production profile in college. He also has numerous Penn State records. And he was doing it right from the get. He won Big Ten Freshman of the Year his first season as a freshman in 2022. Nicholas Singleton, he's a one-cut north-south runner with train on the tracks kind of ethos when he gets that head of steam and he works up to his top speed. But Singleton's style... Choo-choo. But he doesn't get off the tracks. Right. And so when he's going downhill, he is not moving off of that path, and it sets up some huge collisions in the open field when you have a descending defender on him, because Singleton's not going to change the picture for you at all. It's the no nonsense kind of a thing. He's not great at changing directions anyway. And if he did, he'd have to build back up to top speed. So he's either going to try to erase your angle or he's going to try to run through you downfield. So there's a little bit of a lack of nuance there. I will say he's a really good receiver who makes plays downfield. You can send him down there, and he is going to make plays. He has good ball skills, but he's a terrible pass blocker. Like on the other side of it, he's a world-class athlete, and that's Nicholas Singleton, and that's why it's unfortunate that he wasn't able to athletically test. The Athletics' Bruce Feldman had reported last summer Singleton has hit 23.6 miles per hour on the GPS and previously was confirmed to have run a 4.3540 at 228 pounds. We believe that he would have been a 99th percentile plus athlete had he been able to test. The reason he couldn't test, Singleton suffered a broken fifth metatarsal, a Jones fracture in his right foot during Senior Bowl practices in Mobile, Alabama. He did go to the combine, but just for the interviews and medical evals, didn't obviously do anything on the field. As for the injury itself, Singleton has said that he anticipates being 100% by the draft, so in 2 weeks. He did go to the Penn State's Pro Day. The thing he did, he benched 25 reps at 225, which would have been second among running backs at the combine. But that might be the only time that we get to see. I doubt he's going to test now for evaluators. But athleticism is not the concern with Nicholas Singleton. The injury, though, and because of that, I'm thinking he's probably going to go late round 3.
Yeah. And
it wouldn't be a stunner if he fell to the top of the 4th, but I think he's going to go somewhere in there.
Super interesting prospect. I feel like that is, I don't know, that feels like an interesting buy low for a handful of teams. Okay.
Agreed.
RB5.
RB5, Mike Washington Jr. from the University of Arkansas via 2 G5 schools, 6'1", 225 with a 9.88 RAS on him. This is a size speed freight train with 4.33 speed at 225 plus pounds. And he plays.
Now we're talking, Thor. Now we're talking. This is where I want to be.
Yeah, man, can this guy boogie?
I'm in the right zip code now.
So, in some of these guys with the great high-end speed, it does not translate to the field. With Mike Washington, it definitely does. There was 7 different times in 2025 when he was clocked at over a 20-mile-per-hour speed by the GPSs. So he's consistently hitting that. The size speed thing, it makes him a problem in the open field because he builds up that speed to power conversion. And it's one of those things you're going to have to get off the train tracks when he's coming through. He's a little bit more physical than Nick Singleton as well, I'll say. So he relishes the contact. But Washington, he got to Arkansas this past season where he ran for 1,070 yards and 8 touchdowns on 6.4 yards per carry. Came via New Mexico State, which then came. Prior to that, he was at Buffalo. So he was like this overlooked recruit. Began at Buffalo. He's from upstate New York. He transferred to New Mexico State of local topical interest because former Gopher star running back David Cobb, who was the running back coach at New Mexico State because of Jerry Kill, discovered Mike Washington's film at Buffalo and was like, I think we can turn this kid into a star. Yeah. And David Cobb was telling me, I talked to him on the phone about both Mike Washington and Seth McGowan, who barely missed these rankings, but was talking to him about both their games. And he told me, David Cobb did, that they have a hill that they run on in their practice facility at New Mexico State to build up stamina and leg strength. And he said that hill was undefeated prior to Mike Washington stepping on campus. And the first time we seen him running up the hill, it was like he was running on flat ground. So, I mean, he really wowed the people there, spent a year there, and then he, goes to Arkansas this past season where he runs for over 1,000 yards. Hit and miss as a pass protector. He is getting better as a receiver, but the pass protector thing, he has the size, he has the athleticism, he even has the want to, but he does get aggressive. Sometimes I think he thinks that he's a hammer as opposed to a shield in pass protection. So you'll see him run up and then try to throw his upper half into someone, lunge forward, get out over his skis, and then he can get slipped like that. Needs to sit back in the hips a little bit more and be the shield as opposed to the hammer in that phase. Maybe that's something that we can work on him with at the next level. A couple other weaknesses. He runs upright. It's a big time upright runner. And it's sort of like Singleton as well, where the changing directions when he gets to top speed, he doesn't really do that. Washington's also not as physical in close quarters as you would think. He's not your prototypical push the pile kind of a guy. Last thing, the fumble rate is a little bit of a concern. One fumble per 54.6 career offensive touches. He did drop that slightly to 1 per 65 in 2025. Can we get that? Can we further improve?
I don't like
that?
This now.
Are we red dotting? Are we red dotting the fumble rate or the pass pro grade?
Well, the pass pro grade sounds like he's been poorly coached by Cobb. So I blame your guy, David Cobb.
Come on,
you got to work at pass protection, because if you're lunging, that's a coaching thing. The fumble rate scares me. I'm not red dotting him by any means. A lot of this intrigues me. Fumble problems, though, they scare me depending on what the circumstances are and what the fumble problem is. But that would be my concern. The pass protection thing actually sounds very fixable, though.
I would watch a podcast where Thor connects David Cobb to Judd, so Judd can say it to David Cobb's face.
Well, why didn't you? Why is he
such a nice guy too, Judd?
He's a great guy. That's not the point. Why is the young man lunging in pass pro? A lot of
running backs do, because they're also even at 6 foot 225, you're taking on dudes that are bigger than you even at that size. So
right, but like Thor said, you're a shield. You got to absorb it.
Yeah.
If you go at it, no, that's not going to work.
It's easy for us to say, but Mike Washington.
It's like catching. It's like a catcher, man. You got to catch let the baseball come to you. Don't stab. Never stabbing in sports never is a good idea.
That applies for multiple reasons.
Well, it applies to life too, but I'm not going to talk about that.
All right, RB4. We're creeping up this list here, Thor.
Let's go to a Minnesota native in Emmett Johnson via the University of Nebraska. I comp him to Devonta Freeman, 5'10.5" for Emmett Johnson and 205 pounds. He accrued a 5.56 RAS during the pre-draft process. Emmett Johnson is this class's good back who is not an elite athlete. My comp, like I mentioned, Devonta Freeman, but more recently, I think you can think of Emmett Johnson as somewhere between Woody Marks, who went in the 4th round last year, and then the highest end of this continuum would be Bucky Irving. He's somewhere in the middle of those two guys, and then what side of it is he closer to? Obviously, we're going to see the NFL utility there, but I sort of settled on Devonta Freeman because I couldn't go to one side of that polarity or the other. But outstanding vision with Emmett Johnson, some of the best feel and running with tempo that you'll see in this class. Very, very elusive on the field, but really difficult with that. He lacks the high-end speed, of course, but his feet are really fast in a phone booth. So it's one of those guys, he's going to change the angle on you, like in close quarters, and he takes some glancing shots that he can sort of slide off of. I wrote in my notes, Gumby-like pliability when squeezing through holes and shrinking the strike zone of oncoming defenders. He's really good with the contortions and maneuvering his body, and it's just pliability is what I'd say there. He also runs with a low center of gravity, solid contact balance. He's a good receiver. The weakness is poor measurables, of course. That's the thing that always gets talked about with him. He also can get a little dance happy instead of going upfield sometimes. It's not like a recurring thing, but there are a couple, that you need to pull out like weeds. And then the last one, he tries in pass pro, but he's going to get overpowered at that in the pros.
Yeah. Hey, on the 4.49 40, that was a combine time or a pro day time?
That was pro day.
Not that it necessarily matters a whole lot, but I thought I heard you. Wasn't that projected to be a little high? Did he improve his stock with a better 40 time, or is that kind of in line with his game speed and what people thought?
I mean, like I still think of him as a 4 or 5 speed guy. I don't care if they shave some hundredths of a second off down in Lincoln at their pro day, whatever. and I'll say this too: the reason that Emmett Johnson was not a Minnesota Golden Gopher as he wanted to be growing up in the Twin Cities was because of his 40 time coming out of high school. He has really, really improved that thing up until now. And you saw even between the combine and then the pro day was able to shrink it a little bit more. But honestly and really, I do think it's more like a mid 4.5s kind of speed on the field. But the agility and that make you miss thing, that's the I have the on-field, the on-field athleticism metrics, and I'm pretty sure I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah.
Emmett Johnson based in the in-game athleticism. So, and there's been some stories this offseason about the teams, the organizations that are moving to the on-field, not testing, the on-field data, the athleticism data from the GPSs over the NFL combine type and the testing. The Rams are leading that charge. The Jaguars now, Gladstone, he came from the Rams. They care more about your on-field movement than the combine stuff. On the field, Emmett Johnson last season, 99.4th percentile change of direction. Wow. Pretty good.
Yeah. And I feel like obviously technology is getting to the point where, in baseball, we're now doing, we can just run an automated strike zone, right? The fact that we can track player movement across sports, it does kind of render the old stopwatch and binoculars way of testing
straight
athleticism.
Line, man. That's how I judge speed. Straight, how fast you run in a sport that has people trying to stop you. How fast do you just run straight? That's the key question.
100%. And the thing, the other, of course, the max speed is an issue with Emmett Johnson, but he gets to it very quickly. And I'll go back to the on-field with the GPS, 90.4th percentile max acceleration. The speed was 71st percentile was, his max, as far as that goes. So it's a quick guy. It's an agile guy who has really good feel. Doesn't look like much getting off the bus, but he's putting up yards when he gets out on the field.
I feel like selfishly, we should go back and just do a simple yes or no. Would you be happy if the Vikings drafted these players? Mike Washington for me is a yes. Emmett Johnson for me is a yes. Not that this is all about the Vikings, but selfishly.
Yeah, and third round type, I think, is where both those guys, and then the next one that we're going to talk about, if the Vikings, they want to get one of these running backs to go in and play right away, you're going to have to go round 3 before it gets to day 3 there. So, yeah, and those guys certainly in that bucket.
All right, so our RB3 next up here.
RB3 for me, Jonah Coleman from Washington, who I comp to Doug Martin. Some others, the folks that really love Coleman the most, they comp him to Maurice Jones-Drew. But you have an all-time bowling back kind of build here at 5'8". He weighed in 222 during the pre-draft process, but he's been up like 230. At 5 foot. He's just like a little boulder. It's like muscles on muscles on muscles. And then he's built just so low to the ground. I consider him a spinning bowling ball of a back because not only he's got the power, but he also has the agility. And again, just so low to the ground. He squats 545 pounds. Speaking of the lower body strength on this kid, the combination of shiftiness and power makes him really difficult to tackle. And you go back to 2024. I like looking at this because Washington had one of the worst offensive lines in the FBS in 2024. It got marginally better last season, but you go back to 2024, Washington finished 106th in run blocking that season. But Coleman, he finished with 93rd percentile yards after contact. And you saw this over and over again in his career, sort of overcoming the situation. He played behind some really bad offensive lines, but he can handle the load on the ground. He's a big plus on pass downs. Jonah Coleman, 54 receptions over the last 2 years. He is also one of this class's truly elite pass blockers. One of the few guys you can rely on right away in the NFL to pass pro for you. Jonah Coleman, you ask him about pass pro, get ready to listen for 5 minutes. Like, he'll teach you a course. You know, remember when they asked Kirk Cousins about the progression system? I guarantee you next year, if a media person asks Jonah Coleman about pass protection, they're going to get the 5-minute seminar like Kirk Cousins gave.
Sign me up for this.
That's how you get drafted higher. That's how you make rosters, and that's how you have a long career at that position. And obviously, like, if you're a high-end runner of the football, that helps too. But if you're like a second, third, fourth round pick, and some of these guys we're going through, if you can be great at pass protection, you will make NFL teams and you will get snaps, period.
100%.
Well, hell, you can play all 3 downs.
Exactly.
Become a 3-down back. That's all you're looking for. Yes, that's a huge selling point to me. Huge.
Yeah. The thing with him, the weakness is it's just the lack in the high end speed. That's what it is. He didn't test during the process. He would have run, I think, in the 4.6s had he. And it's another guy that will get caught from behind in the open field. But huge efficiency player. You know, we were talking about that like with Kaytron Allen, but Jonah Coleman, he also is a good receiver. And I think he's even a slightly better pass blocker than Kaytron Allen. So that's, of course, why he's a few spots here higher in my rankings.
All right, now we start to wake up some echoes here. RB2, let's do it.
This is Phil's favorite part of the show here.
That's right.
We're closing it out with the Notre Dame backs. RB2, Jadarian Price, who I comped to Kenneth Walker. It's almost like, like when Kenneth Walker's last year at Michigan State, he got to do it, though, all the time. Kenneth Walker, they gave him 1 billion touches that season. Jadarian Price, of course, had to work behind Jeremiyah Love, who we'll talk about in a second. But the game, very similar to Kenneth Walker. Jadarian Price, 5'10" and 5'8", 208 pounds. He tested 85th percentile size adjusted athlete by Raz during the pre-draft process. But Price, his game, very sudden, very shifty. He teleports out of danger into open green grass, and then he starts generating the explosive plays. But he can get out there because of that vision, that feel, and then the agility. And then he's got the quick burst button to get himself out of trouble. He also has the burst to steal the corner when he needs to behind the line of scrimmage, like his contact balance. And what I really love about his game, and going back to Kenneth Walker, it's the little micro cuts. He's always doing these little like micro cuts, and he becomes for oncoming defenders, like, when you're driving for too long and then you start seeing like the mirages, that's sort of the picture that he paints for like oncoming defenders. It's like, where is he going to be? Right. And it's like a little, Emmett Johnson does this stuff too. Jadarian, it's more sort of efficient with it, right? These little sort of micro cuts that he just sort of strings together, and then he'll run through your off angle attempt when he can generate it. The other thing you must say in breaking down Jadarian Price, one of the best kick returners to enter the NFL over the last decade. He just does the kick returning, but he is awesome at it. And in the NFL, with those new kickoff rules, he's going to be awesome at that as well. You have to add that to his value. He's going to run at least one kickback for a touchdown, I believe, every year that he is a full-time kick returner, and probably multiple. The black box of his evaluation, Jadarian Price, is pass game utility. And you also have to bring this up. He only had 10 catches the last 2 seasons combined. They were all dump-offs, stuff behind the line of scrimmage. We don't know what he can do past lines. We've never seen it. He's also bad in pass protection. You can't trust him there yet. So that stuff is going to have to be worked on. The receiving thing, you can at least say, well, you had a god of a receiving back in Jeremiyah Love. So why would you ever have thrown it to Jadarian Price? We don't know if he's a good receiver or not because they had Jeremiyah Love. Fair enough. The pass blocking, though, we know he's bad. So the other thing, needs to clean up ball security, 4 fumbles the last 2 years. Teammates and coaches, though, love him, Judd. And you have to say that for it's a high-character kid with Jadarian Price as well.
So what is the what round are we talking about for Price? Because I feel like he probably has gotten a little bit lost in the discussion because of his teammates in Love. But like, what round are we talking? A second round pick here? Are we talking a third round pick? What's your feeling?
He's mocked late first.
Late first round.
Some mocks like Schrager had him, I think, late first today, didn't he?
I think he should be a second round guy, and I think at the end of the day he'll be a second round guy. It is interesting thinking about because I've seen him in a couple of those too. They give him to Seattle, don't they?
I didn't catch the team, but that would, that would make some sense if you're looking for like a diet Kenneth Walker, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we lost Kenneth Walker, so let's just get the new Kenneth Walker. Like, and you'd know the kind of compliment that he would be for Charbonnet because you've already seen it once, right? I mean, this guy's a very close analog to that, including Kenneth Walker didn't do any pass down stuff when he was in college as well. So a lot of kind of parallels there. But for me, I think it's going to be the second round. I think the thing that takes him out of there, if you had the pass game utility that was proven up till now, absolutely. Take him in the latter half of the first round. I think the special teams with that would justify that. The kick return touchdowns that you're going to get from him. But without having that, that's why I put him in round 2.
Yeah, it's okay. Didn't lose a game the last 3 months of the season. Backup running back is Kenneth Walker. Didn't need him in the college football playoff RB1.
Thanks, Jack Swarbrick.
Yeah, let's put a few more small schools in there to get shellacked, but backdoor cover. That's fine. Okay, RB1.
RB1, of course, is Jeremiyah Love from the Notre Dame teammate of Jadarian Price. I comped Jeremiyah Love to Reggie Bush, 6 foot, 212 pounds. We didn't get a razz out of him in the process. He only did a couple things, but we don't need to see it. This is an amazing athlete. And he's not even 21 yet, Jeremiyah Love, but he is your reigning Doak Walker Award winner, averaged 137 scrimmage yards per game this past season in 2025, led all of college football with 35 rushing touchdowns the last 2 years, prototypical size, elite athlete, elite explosion. The running, like the dichotomy of him as a runner, it's the patience then with the instant explosion. And that sort of dichotomy indicates really good feel from Jeremiyah Love. Like he knows exactly when to punch it down, but he is super patient behind the line of scrimmage up till when he senses his opportunity. Between the tackles, he does take some more shots because he is an upright runner. He runs exactly like Reggie Bush. You recall with Reggie Bush when he get out into the open field, it's like a sprinter, and his back is up, chest is out kind of a thing. It's the same way that Jeremiyah Love runs. But when he starts running like that, they gobble up field so fast, and going up field. Big improvements from Jeremiyah Love as a receiver and pass blocker as well in 2025. The receiving thing was legitimately impressive. Devastating on wheel routes. Jeremiyah Love he wrangles balls downfield outside of his frame. We even saw him catching the ball downfield one-handed. Before last season, they would do dump off screens, swings to him, and just like Jeremiyah, create for us. Last season, we saw him become an actual weapon in the pass game where downfield he's beating you before the ball's thrown, and then sometimes fishing out balls that should not have been completions. The pass pro isn't perfect yet, but we have seen huge leaps from what we saw earlier in his career, and I think because you've seen him sort of systematically, every offseason, he's targeting one or two of his weaknesses, and then he comes back and they're gone. So I think the pass pro, you can extrapolate that to continue to improve in the pros.
This might sound weird, but like watching a ton of Notre Dame games, my biggest worry about Jeremiyah Love is how much he likes to try to jump over defenders. Yeah. And I feel like I feel he's going to learn the hard way in the NFL. He's got to pump the brakes a little on that. But at this point, just days away from the draft, he looks destined to be a top 5 pick. Unless there's just a bunch of smoke screens, but he's that dude.
He is a pogo stick. And I agree with you, Phil. Like, there's going to be a time where some absolute killer meets him in the air and makes him think twice about doing that in the future. But it does speak to his creativity. Right. I mean, he can make people miss. He does erase angles, but then you also see him randomly pull these things out of his bag, and the jumping thing is one, right? Like, because people try to chop him down in space, and he's like, "Oh no, you're not," and he goes airborne, and all of a sudden, immediately on his first foot comes down, and it's like he's pushing off of that and then accelerating back to top end speed. So yeah, it's a devastatingly good runner.
Yeah. We also learned a new Thorism in there. A couple, I can't remember if it was Jonah Coleman or Price, but it was teleporting. He's teleporting to a different spot on the field.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Now you see him. Now you don't. It's magic. He's a magician.
That's it.
All right. Those are the top 10 NFL draft running back prospects, according to our guy, Thor Nystrom. You can find him all throughout Football Takes on a regular basis and Thor Talks Purple for Vikings fans. For the Sports Dad, for Thor, I'm Phil, and these have been not only our football takes, but Thor's running back rankings.